This is a Thompson Seedless cluster with a number of defects. All of the berries which show waterberry or brown stems will be removed. There are also several berries which have rot spots. Holding it by the stem and rotating the cluster, the various problems can be observed and clipped. What now remains is a usable cluster. This black variety also has several problems and can be used if properly trimmed. Bird damage is very evident. Often these berries are already developing rot in the wounded area. Berry end splits are common and need to be removed along with the shriveled berries we can see. On this shoulder of the cluster, 4 reddish berries and 1 green berry detract from the overall black color of the cluster and should be clipped off. It is often possible to trim a cluster with poor appearance and make it acceptable for packing. This cluster did not set enough berries on the upper portion, yet a little clipping and trimming will make it usable. The pickers have the major responsibility to remove the defects before carrying the fruit to the packer. Any defects not found by the pickers will have to be cleaned up by the packer, which will slow the packer's ability to work quickly and efficiently. Ultimately, the whole crew is responsible to produce the best quality product. After the fruit has been picked and cleaned, it needs to be put into a box or tray for carrying to the packer. If the cluster is dropped into the box, damage to the berries and the cluster will occur. All clusters should be gently placed in boxes to minimize berry damage. The clusters should never be placed on the ground, as dirt and trash can stick to the fruit and lower the storage and store quality. As the boxes are filled with no more than 2 layers of fruit, they are taken to the packing stand. Some crews prefer carrying each box, while others use this type of wheelbarrow. The wheelbarrow is quicker, more efficient, and will save the picker's time, especially when the fruit is being picked further away. As the fruit is brought to the packer, it should be placed in the shade to keep the fruit as cool as possible. Packing the fruit. The packer has to be aware of overall fruit quality, including uniformity of color and berry size when packing the fruit into the box. These 2 clusters are both acceptable to be packed, yet they should not be placed next to each other in the same box. Both the color and the berry size of each cluster are obviously different. The cluster on the right has a larger berry size and a lighter red color, while the cluster on the left is smaller in berry size and is quite dark. If they are put into the same box, they should not be packed next to each other or on the same level. All packed boxes must have a positive visual impression when first opened. Irregular berry size, mixed berry sizes, and poor color uniformity will all detract from a positive image of that box. The fruit must be handled quickly but carefully by the packer. Throwing the fruit into the box in this manner simply is not an acceptable method to pack. The packer has the final responsibility to produce a high-quality product before it is sent to the market. Each cluster also needs to be quickly checked for the various defects previously mentioned in this training session, and then packed in the box according to quality, color, and berry size. If the fruit is roughly handled in this manner, a high-quality, good-looking packed box is not possible. After putting the lid on the box, do not hit the lid showing you are finished. Let's take a look at the fruit quality in this box. There are several split berries on the top. This is the result of hitting the lid after packing. Once again, don't hit the lid. 3 other problems are also evident in the top of this pack. First, there is no uniformity of color. There is light and dark fruit packed next to each other, which detracts from the appearance of the fruit. Second, note the variation in berry size. large and small buried clusters are next to each other. Lastly, the packer failed to note a rotten berry which was missed by the pickers. The two types of packing which will be demonstrated here are plain and bagged. In this first example, both types are shown. The best quality fruit, a number 1 quality, is packed directly into the box, while the plastic bags are used for the number 2 quality fruit, or that fruit which has smaller or looser clusters, or those in which the color is a little off. Clusters which need a lot of clipping often end up as number 2 quality fruit and will need to be bagged. It is also possible that number 1 quality fruit can be bagged depending on the buyer and the grower's packing program. This packer demonstrates good packing techniques in that each cluster is carefully checked for any defects and then packed into the box. Note how the fruit is carefully moved to fit each space so that a neat appearance is achieved. When done, a final clipping over the top of the lug improves the overall appearance. Some owners want small labels attached to the stem of some of the clusters on the top as an advertising tool. Once completed, the packer moves the fruit from the edge, applies the top wrap, and puts on the lid. Whoops! Remember, don't hit the lid. In this field, both the number 1 and number 2 quality fruit is being plain packed. The number 1 quality lug is on the right, and the number 2 quality fruit is going into the lug on the left. Whether you are packing into a wooden TKV, a corrugated, or a styrofoam lug, the techniques are the same. Note how the fruit is carefully placed into the box to fill the space. As this packer works, you can observe the quality of his work. He clips as needed and then carefully places the fruit into the box. Lastly, he lifts a cluster in the lug and fits the last cluster into place. Then he performs a final clipping to ensure a quality job. As the lid of the styrofoam box is taller, there is less chance of crushing fruit in the process of putting on the lid. Care must be taken when putting on the lid of the wooden box to move the fruit away from the top and the bottom edge so the lid will not crush the fruit.